Welcome inside the Little Caesars Arena here in Detroit, Michigan. Nick McCarville, it's the Bridgestone Ice Desk, and so thrilled today. It's the Rhythm Dance. We're kicking off the dance competition, and we've got a lot of great dance to talk about. Myself, joined today by Brooke Castile and Mirai Nagasu, and also welcoming today Emily Samuelson Dunford. There's an extra name on your name now, right?
There is, yes. That's one of my biggest life updates is that I got married this past fall to an amazing man and could not be happier.
Yeah, well, congratulations. And just tell us, you're an Olympian in 2010. People will know that alongside Evan Bates, but what's been up in your life since then? You got married, and what else are you up to?
Got married, moved out of the skating world for the most part. Sometimes I get on the ice for the fun of it, but currently I am working in the Boston area at a great firm called Valentine Partners, where we help families with all aspects of their financial lives, in fact, their lives in general. And it's really great because what I learned as an athlete about goal setting and strategy and teamwork is really applicable to what I'm doing now, and I've been able to carry that through. Which is
awesome. Well done. You tied in a figure skating message there with your success off of the ice. No, that's so cool. We're so excited to have Emily here, and she's going to help us walk through the rhythm dance here. This is the discipline in the U.S. where we've got so many great teams competing internationally right now. And this season, Emily, in particular, it's the pattern dance, the Tango Romantica. It's been exciting to watch this season, but it's also one of those dances that are really challenging for these teams, too. Why is that?
This dance is one of the most challenging pattern dances that there is. A large part of that is the intricacy of the steps and the very deep edges that need to happen to really execute it well. On top of that, there are some intricate hand holds, a lot of legs that cross each other, and the really top teams distinguish themselves just by skating close together and really emoting a lot of passion through this dance as well.
And we're going to see the top teams build. We're going to start lower, and then we'll get to the higher ranked teams as we go. And Mirai Nagasu, we talk about those top two teams. Two of them are back from the Olympic team that you were on, both Maddie Hubble and Zach Donahue, and also Madison Chalk and Evan Bates. But this is really a stacked field overall in ice dance this season.
Ice dance is, U.S. ice dance is the best in the world. They're going to go from nationals, which is a packed event, and then go on to worlds and 4 continents before worlds and really dominate the field. So here it is a battlefield out there because they're fighting for those spots. And you know, 2 Olympic teams, top quality, top notch, and I don't know a lot about ice dance. It's like biology is as chemistry is to me. 2 different disciplines, but I have an appreciation for art, and you know, I hear there needs to be 2 patterns of the Tango Romantica, and then 1 lift with a limit of 7 seconds.
That's right.
Am I
Good
doing
job,
okay?
Mirai. Mirai, you're nailing this.
And a twizzle sequence.
Mariah's
It's our ACT of ice dance.
Yeah, seriously, it really is. Now, we mentioned those 2 Olympic teams, obviously, and then Caitlin Hawayak and Jean-Luc Baker, they won a gold medal earlier this season on the Grand Prix. But then also, Brooke, we've got Rachel and Michael Parsons, Lorraine McNamara and Quinn Carpenter, and Christine Carrera and Anthony Ponomarenko. That is a lot of teams to watch for today.
Yeah, and they're all great, and they've had great seasons thus far. And coming in for Ponomarenko and Carrera as juniors, it's really important post-Olympic season that they come in with a bang, because when you look at the last juniors, Meryl Davis, Charlie White, Tanith Belbin, Ben Augusto, they came in as juniors in one of the top spots and then worked their way up internationally because they were able to be around for so long, and that was a huge part of their success. So it's really important for them to come out here and try to get that 3rd or 4th spot.
Can I just mention that Ponomarenko is figure skating royalty. He comes with a great pedigree. I feel bad for saying that, but his parents are both Olympic champions, so they know what they're doing. They dominated the junior field, and now they're taking on senior, and I think that's really exciting. He has a lot to live up to, but also talent is in his genes.
I love that. No pressure on Anthony Ponomarenko
We believe
today.
in him.
Okay, lastly, before we throw it back to Rusty here in the venue, just for these top teams, you said that they've got to separate themselves. But what does, say, Maddie and Zach, who have won all 3 of their Grand Prix this season, what do they do that's better than the rest of the teams?
For them, it's really so many items, but it's the speed, it's the power that they skate through this dance, along with those really deep, intricate edges, and on top of all of that, making it look flawless and just putting that passion into it that the tango deserves. they do like no other. I mean, you watch Madison's eyes, and she is just on point through the whole thing, which is awesome.
Awesome. Emily Samuelson Dunford, thank you for being our varsity coach. Mariah, your JV coach for ice dance.
Thank you.
No, I love it. Okay, let's go ahead and check out our schedule here this afternoon. Yes, the rhythm dance is going to kick us off. We're going to be right back here on Ice Desk a couple times there. Look at those times. They're all local here in Detroit, and that sets us up for the ladies free skate tonight. For now, in the venue, we're going back to trusty Rusty Kath. It's all you, Rusty. Hey guys, thanks for hanging out with us here on Facebook and on YouTube. Use that hashtag USChamps19 if you want to get in the conversation on Twitter, Instagram, or elsewhere. And I'm going to be checking on my phone here in a few minutes to look at comments on Facebook. So please let me know, what are your comments? What questions do you have for Emily? It's so cool that she is joining us here on the Ice Desk this afternoon. Now, the top 3 U.S. teams, guess what? They're all training with each other in Montreal. Let's go ahead and check in on Team USA in Canada.
So the 2 American team that trains with us are very different, and their style of skating is different mainly because their physique is very different. So it dictates a lot of what they can and cannot do. So one is more powerful and more grounded in the ice. One is more dynamic, and one is more fast and agile because their size dictated. But they all have a very strong connection between the couples. And they have different tastes of music, and so that also dictates the way they're skating. And we will try and making sure that they keep those differences. And that's what we try to do with any of our team. We try to make them be a best version of themselves and exploit that version.
Skating produced, and it's really cool to see. This isn't a new idea in figure skating, right? That the top teams, especially in ice dance, train alongside each other. But what are the positives and negatives, or how is that setup generally beneficial, especially for our 3 top U.S. teams?
I mean, I think it's fantastic when you're skating next to the best teams in the country on a daily basis. It really allows you to push yourselves to new limits, and you see it on a regular basis. It's day in and day out. It's not just 4, 5, 6 times a year at competition, but they really get to help support each other and push each other to continue to improve regularly, which I think is great.
Well, and I think what's interesting this year, Brooke, is that we've got Madison and Zach, who have had such a great Grand Prix season, but then you have Maddie and Evan, and Maddie's coming off an injury. They had to pull out of both of their Grand Prix.
Yeah.
They just won a small event in Poland, but they've said all season long, guess what? Well, when they've come back, they've said, guess what? All season long, we've been watching Maddie and Zach, and maybe feeding off that energy a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, for 2 points on that, with the Montreal thing, it's interesting that Maddie and Zach were kind of the first U.S. team to go there 2 years ago, and now everyone saw how that was working for them and how much success they were having, so now everyone has followed, which I think is really interesting. And for Maddie and Evan, she had this ankle surgery, and it's taken a lot longer than she had originally thought to recover from, which is hard because you're starting your season so much later, and the time that it takes to kind of build throughout a season, there's a lot of planning that goes on. There's a lot of ups and downs that you kind of work your way through to get to the top, and I think that's been a challenge. But also, coming into nationals as your first major competition, it's kind of like jumping into a tub of freezing ice water versus like being on a beach, like walking into like on the sand to some nice warm Mexican water or something, you know, like on a beach somewhere. It's you don't have that warm up. It's kind of just a shock. Here we go, and it's not the best feeling in the world. But I think being in Montreal helps them with that, being with the other top teams, and also they're veterans. They've been to 2 Olympics. They're They're always well prepared, well trained, and they've been together for a long time. So I think that is an advantage. But even for the best of us, it's still really hard coming in this late in the season as your first competition.
Yeah, we're going to talk about more Chalk and Bates in a minute because you know Evan
do,
very
yes,
well.
very
You know
well.
both of them really well.
Yeah.
But Mariah, you trained with Max Aaron at times. You've trained with other top competitors. Did you feel like you fed off those other top skaters in your career too?
Absolutely. Colorado Springs is a mecca for single skating right
Yeah.
now because there's so many good coaches. Tammy, Tom, and Christy Kroll, they all work together now. And I think they've created a school, which is what the ice dancers have done years before. And I think they get that works. And yes, they're competitive against each other, but at the same time, I sense a feeling of teammate kind of camaraderie, and they support each other as well as they all have that will to beat each other. And
Yeah.
I think it's that healthy balance that makes them the best in the world.
Yeah.
And we can't throw out Hawaii and John Luke Baker.
Not at all.
World junior champions. And, he's not as tall as the other male ice dancers, but what he lacks in height, he makes up in edge quality. And I just look at both of them together and how they coordinate on the ice, and I think it's beautiful.
I think it's really great that all three of these teams have very distinct strengths, and it's really cool to see that. I mean, it's not just that one style is it. And Patrice had kind of mentioned this in the video we just saw too, that they're really making sure that they emphasize their unique differences that really make them who they are and make them really good.
And that's a nod to the coaches as well, for them to be
Absolutely.
able to have all of these teams, not just the U.S. teams, but the top teams in the world, and be able to have them all packaged differently, play to their strengths. It's really a nod to the coaching team.
Yeah, and I like that you say that we've got three very different teams on top of the ice dance discipline right now. Brooke, I want to throw to you just in the sense that we were at Skate America together on Ice Desk, and we saw Hubble and Donahue there. They won. They won at Skate Canada. They won at Grand Prix Final. But they've made a lot of changes to their programs this season. And yes, they want to do well here, but their goal really is the podium at Worlds, where they were silver last year, or maybe even a world title. So what are they trying to get out of this weekend, especially as defending champions?
Well, they're coming in very comfortable. They're undefeated this season. They haven't had a lot of competition at their Grand Prix, and at the Grand Prix final, the French team didn't compete because they only did one Grand Prix, so they didn't qualify, which they've been, being able to get their feet wet, feel out their programs. They did Skate Canada, Skate America back to back, and
Yep.
then it had a very long break for the finals, so they were able to make those changes comfortably and confidently. Tessa Virtue and Scott Moyer did the same thing last year. Before the Olympics, they made quite a few changes to their free dance, and it worked out.
Yeah.
So moving forwards for Worlds, I think they're probably, in ice dance, you might say the French are locked for the gold, but they're definitely hungry, and they want to try to push that and go for a gold.
Well, the French team just winning Euros in the last few hours. They win
And
the
they're
European.
training mates
Yeah,
as well.
also training
Yeah.
there as well. I don't know
Maddie
how.
and Gabby are
I don't know how
great friends,
Patch
yeah.
I
and
don't
Marie
think they
friends.
sleep.
I don't think they sleep either. There's been a lot of rest for Madison Chalk and trying to come back from this injury. Brooke mentioned a little bit, but you know Maddie and Evan so well, and what sort of dynamic they bring with each other. What do we hope for or want for them this weekend in this comeback?
I mean, I think we're really looking for them to rely on each other and all of their talent that they have and all of the success that they've had up to this point to really make this competition successful. It is extremely hard to come back from an injury especially when you haven't competed all season. But I know the resilience that they both have. I know the hard work that they both put in, and I know that they'll be able to do what they need to do with this competition.
Well, it was a tough road we can check out here from Madison Chalk's Instagram. They went to Poland in January. I thought this was really smart. They go to Torun and they win a small event there. And Mariah, I thought this was great just for them to feel a little bit settled before nationals.
Yes, and I have to throw a huge kudos to Maddie for coming back from surgery and for making it back to nationals. Surgery is not an easy comeback, and even if the doctors say one thing, your body might be telling you another, and ultimately your body is telling you to take a break. And it's hard when you have such a good season and you've gone to multiple Olympics and your body wants to keep going, but at the same time, I look at Maddie Chalk and I'm like, you're perfect. And to see her have a little bit of a flaw and to have to come back makes me believe that she's human, and I love that side of that too, because she's been packaged so well, and that's a part of the ice dance culture that I'm not that knowledgeable in, but they come to their practices fully made up and beautiful, and there isn't
Ready.
a chink in their armor. So to see that side of Manichak is really vulnerable for me to see. I had surgery as well, and I love that she opened up to us about her surgery.
I want to ask you about Hoayak and Baker, because obviously they believe in themselves a lot. They go to Montreal, they go to Marie-France and Patrice. It means that they believe in themselves. They go to NHK. They get a little bit lucky because the French were injured. That's where Guillaume and Gabby were meant to be. But gosh, that Grand Prix gold has to give them a lot of confidence. And then as Mariah's mentioning, Jean-Luc isn't this big guy, but they've been skating with bigger confidence recently.
Oh, absolutely. I think the improvement this year is tremendous. Just to see them really come into themselves and really take ownership of their skating has been great. Their speed has improved, their power has improved, their connection has improved. There's been a lot of good that's come from this change and their coaching change, and I think that we're in for a really exciting event today.
Yeah, and we mentioned those three teams. What we want to do now is show you our top scores from this season in the rhythm dance, because this is going to be a tough one, you guys. Look at this. There's Hubble Donahue. That's from the Grand Prix final. But then Chalk Bates, McNamara Carpenter, Hoayak Baker, Parsons, Carrera, Ponomarenko. Those are tight scores, Brooke. And yes, they're at different levels. Obviously, we've got some senior Bs there. We've got some music blasting behind us right now. It's a party in here. But gosh, Brooke, you just look at this. The quality's so good. We're set up for a really good rhythm dance here.
Yeah, absolutely. And McNamara and Carpenter, we haven't really talked about them. They've kind of been like 5th place for the last few years.
Yeah.
And no one likes to be 5th place, let me tell you. Never. 5th is the worst. So they're probably really hungry this season to try to break through that top 4, maybe 3rd place. And I think that definitely there's someone that we need to take seriously.
It's really interesting because these are all former junior champs, and I think in a sense maybe they were hoping that more than just one Olympic team, with the Shibutanis stepping away at least for now. I think, Mariah, maybe these three teams were hoping, the Parsons, McNamara, Carpenter, Carrera, Ponomarenko, that more teams would step away, but they've all really worked hard to kind of separate themselves from the rest of the pack.
With ice dance, I feel like they have to pay their dues, and the more experience, the better, and they get better with age. They're like fine wine. They just get crispier and sweeter. I like white wine.
Good cheese, maybe some good cheese out there, wine and cheese.
I
with the
enjoy
rhythm
ice
dance
skating
today.
like I enjoy my wine and cheese. So I might not understand everything that's going on, but I can appreciate the artistry of it.
What are the nerves like? You're stepping out there for the rhythm dance or for your first performance of the weekend, especially in ice dance. We're not going to see the major big throws and jumps, but otherwise you're going to see a lot of great edges, and you're going to have to see a good performance out there this afternoon.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Stepping out to the rhythm dance, it's exciting. It is intricate. There's a lot of different things that go into that very short amount of time, and all of these teams are going to do a fantastic job today, and it's going to be great to see the passion that they bring to this tango in all sorts of different ranges, and I just can't wait to see the event.
Emily Samuelson Dunford, will you hang out with us after the rhythm dance
I will,
too? Awesome.
yes.
Thank you for joining us, Mariah, Brooke. You guys did pretty good too. Thanks so much. Guess what? It's time for the rhythm dance. We're headed into the arena, and we'll be right back here. Join us on Bridgestone Ice Desk on Facebook and YouTube after the rhythm dance, and bye for now.